So what we are looking at here is the map of Germany, or a map of Germany in the wake of the Austro-Prussian War in 1866. As I mentioned, Prussia had created the North German Confederation, a union between Prussia and 22 other German states into one single entity. So Germany wasn't fully united in 1867, but as you can see from the map here in yellow, a large portion of Germany had suddenly become united under Prussian rule. There was an ambition on the part of Bismarck to unite the rest of Germany, in particular these southern German states here, into this German Confederation. But the key opposition to this would likely come from France, from the French Empire pictured here on the left. So if Bismarck wanted to achieve full German unification, he would have to go to war with France. And in order to ensure that France didn't defeat Prussia or the North German Confederation, he would have to ensure that France didn't have any allies. And the best way to ensure France didn't have any allies was to find a way to provoke France into declaring war on Prussia, as opposed to Prussia declaring war on Germany. So Austria's out of the way. The last remaining obstacle to German unification was France, because France really would be unhappy with the prospect of a strong united Germany on its eastern border. Many people in France were deeply worried by the success of the Prussians in defeating the Danes in 1864 and defeating the Austrians in 1866. France, for a long, long time, had been the dominant economic, military, and political power in Europe. It was used to having weak, divided German states on its border. So the idea of having suddenly a united, organized, a united Germany would be bigger in terms of population than France. This was quite alarming. France was still led by Napoleon III, that is the nephew of Napoleon Bonaparte, the new French emperor, Napoleon III. And he certainly didn't want to stand by and allow Prussia to unite all of Germany under its control. So what led to war between France and Germany, or Prussia? So in Spain in 1868, there was a revolution. A combination of liberals, Republicans, conservatives overthrew Queen Isabella II, Queen of Spain. Now, Isabella was from the House of Bourbon, or the House of Bourbon, which traditionally was the old French royal house. So France was very used to the idea of having a great deal of influence upon the monarchy in Spain. But the Spanish revolutionaries decided, while they wanted to keep a constitutional monarchy, they did not want to allow someone else in the House of Bourbon to become king. They wanted to find a new king instead. So they began looking around Europe, and one of the people they decided to offer the crown to was a guy called Prince Leopold of Prussia, Leopold Hohenzollern. The Hohenzollerns were the Prussian royal family. Now, Leopold was not he was not in line to succeed in Prussia, so there was no danger of him uniting Prussia with Spain under a single rule of his as a single king. But he was related to the Prussian royal family, and the French basically disliked the idea that not only was Prussia suddenly uniting large parts of Germany under its control to the east of France, but that possibly Spain would become under the control or the influence of Prussia via the appointment of Prince Leopold as King of Spain as well. So Spain ultimately objected to the crown being offered to Leopold. Bismarck wanted Leopold to take the throne. He thought this was a good way of provoking France and making France uncomfortable. He thought it was in Prussia's best interests to have another royal family in Europe be directly related to the Prussian royal family. But Kaiser Wilhelm didn't want to provoke a war with France. He didn't feel it was worth. He understood that Spain, in his opinion, was somewhat under the French sphere of influence. He thought allowing Leopold to become king would be provocative. So Kaiser Wilhelm, or King William of Prussia, encouraged Leopold to withdraw his candidacy for the Spanish throne. And so France, in 1869, 1870, had scored something of a diplomatic win. It had gotten Prussia to back down over the question of the open Spanish monarchy. But then they decided to take it further. In 1870, the French sent their ambassador to Prussia to meet with King William to get some guarantees that never again would any member of the Prussian royal family be put forward as a candidate for the Spanish throne. So I'm going to show you guys a little video that kind of explains what happens once the French tried to get these guarantees from the Prussian monarchy.
Early in July 1870, the Chancellor of Prussia, Count Otto von Bismarck, one of the most ruthless diplomats in history, was interrupted at dinner by the arrival of a telegram from his king, William I of Prussia. The telegram described how the French ambassador, Benedetti, had been cordially received over a matter of the Spanish succession. The throne had been offered to a member of the Prussian royal family, a cousin of King William. Naturally, France objected to such a candidate, which ignored her own long-standing influence in Spain. King William, with no desire to provoke a war with France, assured Monsieur Benedetti that Prussia would forward no such candidate to the Spanish throne. Pleased with his resolution of the matter, William gave his permission to Bismarck to publish the transcript of the meeting. Yet Bismarck had no intention of giving the French such satisfaction. Indeed, he had been waiting for just such an opportunity to provoke war, and so altered the wording of the telegram to suggest that Benedetti had been dismissed out of hand. The so-called M's telegram arrived in Paris on the 14th of July, Bastille Day. Its effect was explosive. The French were outraged, and within just 5 days declared war on Prussia and her German allies. The Franco-Prussian War had begun, and within months, an empire would...
Okay, so what we see in this video was that there was a cordial meeting between the French ambassador, Benedetti, and King William of Prussia. The video suggests that King William had kind of agreed to the French demands. That wasn't exactly what happened. He basically said, well, I hear why France has concerns. I don't really want a Prussian candidate to go forward for the Spanish throne right now, but he refused to make the ultimate gesture the French wanted, to guarantee that never again in the future would a Prussian candidate possibly put forward for the vacant Spanish throne. But the video is accurate in saying that the conversation was pretty polite. The French ambassador was very well received, and you saw the video stresses that Bismarck ultimately manipulated the report of what actually happened in the meeting to suggest the ambassador had been treated very, very rudely by the Prussian king instead. And this was an incredibly provocative gesture in France. So they ultimately led that the telegram arrived in France on Bastille Day, a moment of heightened French nationalism anyway. And in response, the French foreign minister, for example, said reading the telegram felt like getting a slap across the face. Bismarck was very successful in provoking French honour, a sense that France had been humiliated and had no choice but to declare war on Prussia. As in the Austro-Prussian War of 1866, most people expected a kind of longer war in which the more traditional military power of France, in this case, would win out. And as in 1866, that is simply not what happened. Very, very quickly, the Prussians, better organised, better equipped, making better use of modern technology such as trains, defeated the French. They captured most of the French army within a matter of 2 months, including at the famous Battle of Sedan in April 1870. They captured Napoleon III himself in battle, so now the French emperor is a prisoner of the Prussians. The one part of France that held out was Paris. In Paris, after the capture of Napoleon, the government in Paris declared Napoleon had been overthrown, and they proclaimed a republic, what is known as the Third French Republic. The Prussians laid siege to Paris from September 1870 to January 1871, and essentially starved the people of France or Paris into submission. By the end, Parisians were forced to eat all the animals in the zoo, with the exception of the hippopotamus because it was too expensive, and with the exception of chimpanzees because this was 12 years after Charles Darwin's On the Origin of Species. The kind of the evolutionary connection with chimpanzees meant that the people were not comfortable eating chimpanzees. Unfortunately, all the other animals in the zoo went into the pot, but in the end, this kind of defiance on the part of the people of Paris wasn't enough. The Prussians began shelling the city. Paris was forced to surrender in January 1871. And in the Hall of Versailles, in the old seat of King Louis XIV, the new German Empire was proclaimed. That is a united Germany in which southern German states joined with the North German Confederation to form a new single united Germany. King William of Prussia became Kaiser William of Germany. Kaiser, the German version of Caesar, of emperor, so kind of harking back to the Roman Empire in that sense. Germany had become united. France was forced to concede Alsace-Lorraine. These are two provinces to the east, or on the border between France and Germany, in eastern France. The Prussians forced them to hand those provinces over. They also forced the French to pay a heavy indemnity. Essentially, gave the French the bill for the German war effort, and promised to keep an army in France until the French had paid off the bill, which they did after 3 years. And the result was that kind of almost overnight, there was a new top dog in Germany, that Germany had overtaken France as the dominant political power, certainly the dominant military power, and the dominant economic power as well. What kind of a state was this new Germany? Again, it took the trappings of the old Prussian state, that there was in theory universal suffrage, but in reality all power lay with the emperor, the Kaiser, William, and the chancellor, who of course was Bismarck. And as Bismarck had always hoped, most liberals, not all, but the power of German liberalism, which had been quite strong in the 1840s and 1850s, faded as many liberals became supporters of Bismarck, supporters of a more conservative order in Germany, because they were thankful that Germany itself had been united under Bismarck's rule. So under the rule of Kaiser William, but with Bismarck very much guiding the ship. Let's just take a look. This is Germany. You can see united in 1871, the German Empire, suddenly a powerful, large country emerging in the middle of Europe. And have some students remembered the events of German unification? So here too was a new Germany, loud, bold, vulgar, and full of realty. German unity was achieved by William I, coupling with Bismarck. After several hurtful convulsions, he culminated to power as the first Kaiser of Germany. So that's one slightly mangled version of German history. One last comment when he says full of realty. Actually, the student was onto something there. Bismarck practiced something called realpolitik, which basically meant the pursuit of power based on reasonable, rational calculations of consequences of actions, but without any real concern for moral or ethical affairs. So in other words, anything was justified so long as it increased state power. So that was realpolitik, very much associated with Bismarck and Germany in the late 19th century. And as we've seen in this class, by 1871, Europe has two new nations, Italy and Germany, in the center of the continent, and that will have significant ramifications for the history of Europe going forward.